It was just a matter of time before Chris Sutton released his weekly column talking about Celtic and Scottish football, so you just knew the Celtic board were going to get some pelters. Welcome back to Fog Football. Chris Sutton says he's wearing an "I told you" shirt. Well, there you go. I told you. And he did say that they should spend this money, and they've got a Champions League qualifier on the horizon. Hell, we've been talking about the Chris Sutton Chronicles for a long time here on this channel, and that gossip column I thought it was every Friday morning. It must be every Saturday morning, because that's where it got released today. But this is what he told Record Sport then, shall we? Because this will be rather interesting, because we know, by God, Chris Sutton wants the Celtic board. He may as well be asking for their head at this point. But Sutton went on to say, "Don't mind me, I'm just sitting here wearing a 'told you so' t-shirt. Believe me, it doesn't give me any pleasure. In fact, I can't actually get my head around Celtic got them into this position. There are people who claim the Parkhead board are too cautious. I don't see it that way. Not when they are taking the biggest gamble of them all by refusing to give Brendan Rodgers the proper tools going into this Champions League playoff. Fail to prepare to fail. That's the phrase that came to mind the other night. It was always going to be a tricky tie no matter who they got at this stage, but failing to replace Kyogo, Jota and Nicholas Kuhn was a self-inflicted own goal that's now left him facing a huge task of getting away with it next week in Kazakhstan." End of quote. Yeah. I think that is the key thing to remember here, right? It's a two-legged tie. Nothing is concrete, but what I would say is this tie went from being like 90 odd percent in Celtic's favour. I think that tasty 50-50, because yeah, if Celtic turn up away in Kazakhstan, they should win. But at the same time, if they don't, and Karat use their stadium and the conditions to their advantage, then could get blown away. They could, Celtic, man. Well, I say blown away. I don't think they'd get blown away, but blown away in terms of holy fuck, we're at the Champions League, game over. But be interesting next week, this Tuesday, because the meltdown on Wednesday night and the Thursday morning fallout was something quite to behold. And that's just after half of the Champions League playoff. What's going to happen if Celtic do crash at the Champions League and end up in the Europa League? I think the damage would already be done, because if Celtic end up in the Europa League and then the board go and spend like 30 million in the last week, that's not going to... It would be the ultimate damage limitations. See, the board, they would honestly... See, if that happened, they would honestly be as well just spending nothing, because no one would be happy with them spending like 30-40 million in the last week. They wouldn't be, especially after they go to the Champions League. Sutton went on to say, "Celtic might still get through, even with the lack of attacking signings. They could still find a way of squeezing past Kairat. Yet the job has been made far tougher than it needed to be. It's mind-boggling how they got here. I can't work out if it's complacency or incompetence, or maybe even arrogance. Did they think this squad was going to have enough to get through the tie, and they could go out and spend for the group stage? Did they not see the Scottish Cup final? Did they fall asleep during the last 3 games against Rangers?" End of quote. I tell you what, the warning signs have been there. The Scottish Cup final, fell asleep at the wheel, some people would say, because Aberdeen were bogging, man. Aberdeen had no fucking right to win that game, right? Last 3 games against Rangers came out on top, apart from the draw. And now this crunch game in the Champions League. Tell you what, I'm recording this at 32 minutes past 1, 3 o'clock kick-off a day, Celtic against Livy. It will be rather interesting, folks, to see what actually happens at Parkhead today, because they'll need a response, but at the same time, don't really want to risk any key players for this 40 million jackpot that's waiting them over in Kazakhstan, the Chinese border. But yeah, I mean, to wrap this up here, Sutton has been saying this. It's not like he just came out of the blue and said, "Oh, it's been absolutely rank rotten," and this and that. In the past week, he's been saying... I mean, I remember talking like in June, he's like, "Oh, we've got a Champions League playoff and we need to be well equipped for it." Sure, Sutton was talking about at the end of May, "Oh, Celtic could blow Rangers away this summer." And they've not done that. But it's almost like the board's justified because they've spent hee-haw and they're actually 4 points clear at Rangers. I mean, it is what it is. I just wonder what would have happened. I mean, it's all crazy what ifs, right? But if Rangers, right, were playing great, which we're not, and we sat on 6 points, and hell, say we were 2-0 up against Club Brugge in the first leg, one could only pray. Like, would that have would the Celtic board be, would signings have been made? Would there be way more? Of course there'd be way more pressure, because they wouldn't, I mean, people, Celtic fans just think a treble's the bare minimum these days. And some absolute fanny likened a treble being the bare minimum to Hearts fans being in the Championship and knowing that level's not good enough for them. I mean, I think that's a fucking desperate clutch, like, to try and pretend that. I think that's insane to think that, man. To even compare the two. I'm not saying Celtic shouldn't be going into each season trying to win every single trophy, because they should be. Absolutely. But to suggest that it's on the par with Hearts in the Championship and that it's fucking... they try to pretend that it's like that level of injustice. I mean, if you think that Celtic coming up short in Champions League football and not progressing as much as they'd want to, and only winning a double and not a treble is on the same level as Hearts being in the Championship for a few seasons, then I don't really know what to tell you, man. I think that's crazy. I think that's absolutely mental. Anyway, we're done. Signing out. Who'll be top after the day, though? Looking forward to it. It won't be my team. 3 o'clock kickoff, man. I'll be there. Get a wee bet on. What are we betting? Should we do that could be a brand new series. Bets of the week. How to lose money with fog football, but on the odd occasion, how to win money.